Hi, insightful individuals. Today's video is so exciting, and we might be doing a part 2 and 3 as well because there's just so much to talk about. Okay, we'll be talking about uncovering the master plan and all the information we could gather from this post Tom Hanks posted a while back. So, first, we see a hand with two bags, and it says plasmatic on three. 1, 2, 3 plasmatic hanks. When you swipe on the post, you'll see this picture on your left hand side, and yeah, it's just a hand and a finger. And then when you swipe again, this is the last post of someone drawing blood, and yeah, it's pretty gross, so I won't be showing you the full picture again. But anyway, so let's look at the first post. Here you can see the two bags, and the circle I made there, it says TPN. Now, TPN stands for Total Parental Nutrition. Total parental nutrition is a method of feeding that bypasses the gastrointestinal test. Fluids are given into the vein to produce most of the nutrients the body needs. So this doesn't even look like real plasma because, according to someone in the know, they've donated plasma and they would never take that much. They say the person would be dead if it really was plasma. Um, so yeah, this is a real plasma bag, and notice the color of the fluid, the amount, it's much less, and the bag is marked with a blood type, which isn't on Tom Hanks's post at all. Okay, let's look at the next picture he put it up. So over here we can see his thumb. So I went and looked at his previous posts to see if it is his thumb, and if this is his, this is also a picture on his wall, and it's just a picture of a flipper. And when comparing these two pictures, you can definitely see it does look like the same thumb, but I don't know if it is his hand. It might be his handler's hand, his friend's hand, it might be his brother's hand. I have no idea, but it does look like the same thumb. And then let's go to the last picture. When looking at the last picture, you can see this hand poking out, and it's crawled into a little 6. So I don't know why you'd be doing that, but all of these celebrities seem to be doing the same thing. And if you are unaware of the occult, they love throwing up this sign as it relates to 666. And in the Bible, it says it's the number of the beast and of man. So yeah, you can see it's, someone says it's related to the sun eye of Horus and the moon eye of Horus. I have no idea what that is, but I just know celebrities love throwing up this sign as allegiance to their system or the beast. Okay, then let's look at this. Let's look at we're going to focus in this video on the written part of this post, and we'll get into other parts of it later or in the next video. So it says plasmatic on 3. 1, 2, 3, plasmatic hanks. Okay, so when I was googling plasmatic, something popped up called the master plan, and it says at Perkins Palace, and then that date. So that was quite interesting to me, because the Perkins Palace, if you click on it now, it was Raymond's Theatre that came up. So I don't know if they changed it, if it was some sort of old palace and they don't want people to know. I have no idea. But anyway, but we are going to focus on the master plan because that is so interesting in itself. The video master plan that took place at Perkins Palace. So when we look at the first scene, we see a woman in blue that looks quite feminine-ish, um, but she's grabbing her blue top and then about to rip it down while people are watching her, and she has a big pentagram on her chest. The pentagram is usually an allegiance to Satan, and they also use it in rituals to attract um, spiritual beings. Just take note, she's wearing blue and she still looks a bit girly. So in the next slide, in the next scene, and by the way, then she takes her top off, so she's completely exposing her nipples. Then in the next slide, we see a man with blue hair and lots of symbols. It looks like Freemasonry symbols and Kabbalah symbols and many others on his white lab coat. And if you are unaware, the Republican Party is represented by red and the Democratic Party is represented by blue. And in my research and from my understanding, the Rothschilds are in charge of the blue party primarily, and the Rockefellers are in charge of the red party. And they both know the master plan for taking over the world. And these parties were working together, the one primarily in in Europe and the one primarily in America. And so they were working on the same plan together, and then eventually um, the Rockefellers decided no, they want to do their own thing and kind of take it over on their own, and now the Rothschilds are angry at them. So that is my understanding from my research. So just know it's two branches of the same tree. And then they flash to this guy with his purple head. And if you know your art 101, blue and red makes purple. So purple is also the color of royalty. The color purple has been associated with royalty, power, wealth for centuries. In fact, Queen Elizabeth I forbade everyone except close members of the royal family to wear it. Purple elite status stems from the rarity and cost of the dye originally used to produce it. And then they say, why is purple an evil color? This was a Disney villains thing, so you know they know something. And it says, purple. We anticipated purple was overwhelmingly one of the most villainous colors when you consider that purple is associated with power, nobility, luxury, and ambition. It makes sense. Those characteristics are certainly reflected in the characters like Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Okay. So now we're going to go to the lyrics of the song because it's so telling. It says, 1, 2, 1, 2, F-U. So clearly like a rebellious streak in it. And then it says master plan. And like we've spoken about, master plan is the grand scheme that they came up with, that they want to take over the world. And it actually correlates pretty good with the Bible and how they say the evil, I think it says the evil people who act like Jews, who say they're Jews but are from the synagogue of Satan, is trying to take over the world by symbolism, by communicating in symbols, and I don't know what else. So yeah, the Bible actually warned us of this long ago, but anyway. And one line in the thing is, it makes me feel so sure. So they were sure they're gonna win, and they were sure they're gonna have this in the bag, because I think they had all the primarily all the celebrities on the liberal spectrum and promoting liberal ideas, and I think they were just so sure that they had the master plan in their hands. But I have a feeling the Republicans kind of are taking over them, or are taking them over, because I think they are a bit less lethal, but I could be wrong. Okay, so they were sure they're going to win, and then it says master plan, Superman, master plan, it makes you feel secure, so they were secure they're going to win. And then it says master plan, Kung Klux Klan. Now, I'm going to go a bit in depth about the KKK. If you don't know about them, um, it's quite going to be quite interesting. If you do know about them, you can skip this part. But I wasn't aware of all the in and outs. I found the information I found was on the History Channel's website, so very mainstream. So there's probably like a billion things they're not telling us. And yeah, but you can see it looks like an evil organization burning Christ's cross and wearing masks. Okay, it says founded in 1865, the KKK extended into almost every southern state by the 1870s and became a vehicle for white southern resistance to the Republican Party's Reconstruction era policies aimed at re-establishing political and economic equality for blacks. Its members waged an underground campaign into the intimidation and violence directed at white and black Republican leaders. Through Congress passed legislation designed to curb Klan terrorism, the organization saw its primary goal the re-establishment of white supremacy fueled through the Democratic victories in a state legislation across the South in the 1870s. After a period of decline, the white Protestant uh, nativist groups received the Klan in the early 20th century, burning crosses and staged rallies, parades, and marches denouncing the immigrants, Catholics, Jews, blacks, and organized labor. The civil rights movement of the 1960s also saw a surge of the KKK's activity, including bombings of black schools and churches and violence against black and white activists in the South. And just a little bit about the founding of the KKK. A group including many former Confederate veterans founded the first branch of the KKK as a social club in Pulaski, Tennessee in 1865. The first two words of the organization's name supposedly derived from the Greek word kaiklos, which is interesting because, Tom and Rita has this thing about their Greek heritage, meaning circle. In the summer of 1867, local branches of the Klan met a general organization convention and establishment what they called an invisible empire of the South. Leading Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest, remember that surname Forrest, was chosen as the first leader or grand wizard of the Klan. He pretended over hierarchy of grand dragons, grand titans, and grand cycloscopes. So this might sound like what to you, but grand dragons, I know, is like the deep state of the Chinese party. So yeah, I don't know if these also refer to different underground organizations. I have no idea. So then it says Ku Klux Klan violence in the South. From 1867 onwards, African American participation in the public life in South became one of the most radical aspects of Reconstruction as blacks won the election to the southern state governments and even the US Congress. For its part, the KKK dedicated itself to underground campaign of violence against the Republican leaders and voters, both black and white, in an effort to reverse the policies of the radical Reconstruction and restore white supremacy in the South. So that's interesting. Like, the Republicans they didn't mind the black people, but the Democrats wanted the white supremacy. I don't know. That's what I'm getting from this. They were also joined in the struggle by similar organizations such as the Knights of the White Camellia, launched in Louisiana in 1867, and the White Brotherhood. At least 10% of the black legislations elected during the 1867 to 1868 constitutional conventions became victims of violence during the Reconstruction, including 7 who were killed. White Republicans, derised as carpetbaggers and squawloggers, and blacks institutions such as schools and churches Symbols of black autonomy were also targeted for Klan acts. By 1870, the KKK had branches in nearly every southern state. Even at its height, the Klan did not boast a well-organized structure or a clear leadership. Local Klan members, often wearing masks and dressed in organization's signature long white robes and hoods, usually carried out their attacks at night, acting on their own, but in support of the common goals of defeating the radical Reconstruction. That sounds like the Masons. They come together as a brotherhood and then they act out on their own. Because when you look at these stage events, it's usually connected to Masonry. And they believe it's for the greater good. Anyway, and restoring white supremacy in the South. Klan activity flourished particularly in regions of the South where blacks were a minority or a small minority in the population and was relatively limited in others. Among most notorious zones of Klan activity was South Carolina, where January 1871, 500 masked men attacked the Union Country Jail and lynched 8 black prisoners. So yeah, that's quite bad. The KKK and the end of Reconstruction. Three Democratic leaders would later attribute KKK's violence to poorer Southern whites. The organization's membership crossed class lines, from small farmers and laborers to planters, lawyers, merchandisers, physicians, and ministers. In the region where most Klan activity took place, local law enforcement officials either belonged to the Klan or declined to take action against it, and even those who were arrested, accused Klansmen found it difficult to find witness willing to testify against them. This sounds so familiar, guys. Like, all of these attacks they have are planned, and then when they try to do something, you can only go as high, and then there's a party that's like, well, we're not going to put the person in jail. Or they're thrown in jail and taken out a few days later. Other leading white citizens in the South declined to speak out against the group's actions, giving them tacit approval. See, because we're not speaking out, they feel they have approval. After 1870, Republican state governors in the South turned to Congress for help, resulting in the passage of 3 enforcement acts, and the strongest of which was the KKK Act of 1871. For the first time, the KKK Act designed certain crimes committed by individuals as federal offenses, including conspiracies to deprive citizens of the right to hold office, yes, serve on juries, and enjoy equal protection of the law. So they felt like the public didn't really have a say. It was all these KKK members. So it sounds very much like the Masons today. The act authorized the president to suspend the width of habeas corpus and arrest accused individuals without charge, and to send federal forces to suppress Klan violence. This expansion of the federal authority, which Ulysses S. Grant prompted in 1871 to crush Klan activity in South Carolina and other areas of the South, outraged Democrats and even alarmed many Republicans. From the early 1870s onwards, white supremacy gradually reasserted its hold in the South, and as support of Reconstruction warned. By the end of 1876, the entire South was under Democratic control once again. Okay, let's look at the next part of this thing. So it says, Master Plan Macho Man. And that makes me think of Tom Hanks in so many ways. He was like the macho man. It makes you feel so virile. If you don't know what virile is, virility refers to any wide range of masculine characteristics viewed positively. Virile means marked by strength or force, is commonly associated with vigor, health, sturdiness, and constitution, especially in the fathering of children. Oh, that just makes me so grossed out thinking of Tom Hanks in that sense. In the last sense, virility is to men as fertility is to women. Okay, so that sounds like something we dissociate Tom Hanks with. Then it says, master plan delivery man. And I think I've read an article about how incredibly nice Tom Hanks is, and he's just always the yes man. And he says he does it as a defense mechanism to kind of hide his true self. He just tries to be like the best, and kind of he's got that pleaser mentality. So I think that's, if he got involved with evil things, I think it was because of his he'll do anything, just kind of be nice attitude. Well, be nice to the evil people. You'd like to rule the world. Yeah, they would like to rule the world. Master plan, master plan. You like controlling minds. And why that's very interesting is because um, television was literally, I don't know if it was invented for this purpose, but it certainly turned into them telling us a vision. That's why it's called television. And they're trying to program us, and they try to channel their energy into us. So that's why it's called channels. They're channeling us. It's called programs because they're programming us, and they're telling us a vision. It's called television. So yeah, that's certainly part of it. And Tom Hanks had a big influence on our population because he played in so many memorable movies. So then, when you look at the music video, save yourself. It's really a horrible music video. I couldn't even listen to them scream in my ears while it was just dark. But anyway, in the first clip, you see this lady now turned into, I don't know if it's the same one, but she turned into this punk rocker, rebellious type, barely wearing anything in the back and in the front, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and she's just screaming on stage and acting out. Then she takes a hammer and she crashes an orange car. And if you know anything, orange is the sign of Freemasonry, because when you do gematria, it's the only number, it's the only color that adds up to 33. And 33 is Freemasons' favorite number because there's 33 degrees in Freemasonry. 33 is the age Jesus died at, and yeah, they just love the color 33. So that's why I was so skeptical when I saw Mr. G. Floyd's attack, and there was like a big orange box there, and then it had a 6 painted on it. So I was like, this looks eerily suspicious. But anyway, so on this orange car, like representing the master plan of this evil organization, this rebellious person goes and writes FU, and then crashes it with a hammer. And then someone comes along looking like, I know it's a person that's going to destroy it, but it looks like kind of like a scientist or a doctor, and is wearing this gas mask, which I also found quite interesting. While people are cheering, he's taking a lighter, and yeah. Then it says master plan, Superman master plan. And yeah, that's quite interesting because Tom Hanks was a hero to so many people just based on the roles he played. And it also makes me think of the super role he had when he donated his Corona typewriter to that little boy. Although I found like, who's going to believe that? That's so stupid. But I had people posting on my wall, oh, Tom Hanks is so nice, look what he done. So yeah, I guess people are also stupid to believe it. Anyway, and then it says, can't tell the forest from the trees, which I found so interesting because Tom Hanks was playing Forrest Gump, and his name was literally Forrest. And they say proper noun, noun figuratively, a simple-minded but good-hearted person who became involved in historically significant events by chance. Doesn't that sound familiar? And then on this synopsis it says, Forrest, a man with a low IQ, recounts the early years of his life when he found himself in the middle of key historical events. All he wants now is to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart, Jenny. So yeah, very suspicious that he played that role. And also considering one of the first members of the KKK was called, or one of the first leaders was called Forrest. Yeah, that's quite suspicious. And also by telling us they can't tell the forest from the trees, it's like we've all became what they wanted us to be. So kind of that progression. Then it says, da, 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 you've got down on your knees. So I can totally see how they how these members bow down to this plan, to this system they had in place. Can't tell the forest from the trees. You had it made, but you blew it all away. Master plan. So I think this is just telling us, like, or the people who has to know that message is he had it all in place. He was going to be the spokesperson of the coronavirus. He was going to be like us, guiding us into the new world order, and it kind of he kind of blew it. So yeah, that was my interpretation of it. Um, I don't think their master plan is completely ruined just yet. I think it's just taken over by another party. Um, and then when you look at the music video, it literally is the person who was lighting up the car, lit the car on fire, and it explodes. And you just see this bright light. And they also always refer to Lucifer as the light bearer. So this bright light shines, and the people think, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, cheering it on. Meanwhile, it's going to destroy them as well. And yeah, also in the Bible, the fire represents many things like sacrifices. And it also says in Revelations 21, verse 8, but for the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, as for murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, adulterers, and liars, their portion will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. So, yeah, I think these people kind of has this hate towards God. Um, I don't know if they are unaware, but they can literally have any and all sins forgiven. No sin is too big. Christ died for us all. If they would just like to accept it, it's a free gift. They can decide to do with it what they want, and it seemed like they chose the wrong path. So yeah, that concludes my video for now. Next, might be looking at the island I found related to his post, and yeah, very interesting stuff on that island. So stay tuned and please leave an interesting insight below. Bye.